Live on stage, the sound
of Orlando.
So, if they ready, the sound
of Orlando.
What is going on, party people? What is going on? It is a Friday night, July 9th, April 9th. Sorry about that. It's springtime, not summertime. Welcome to the Sound of Orlando show. Your boys are full. We all got the news today, and I know news has been floating around the past couple of days, but we finally got the news that one of the most legendary MCs to ever do it has passed today into paradise. For a lot of us, we grew up listening in our prime when we could understand literally everything. DMX was the voice of the 90s, 2000s, and he was the energy that we needed and didn't even know it, coming out of losing a Tupac, losing a Biggie. And you hear it all over the place right now. Was it this? Was it that? Really, it doesn't matter what it was. He is gone. But it does bring some awareness to the importance of, looking at our people in a way that is to not judge people. We all have fallen short to the glory of God and to the glory of the universe. If our son had an attitude, we would not be here. If our son held a grudge, we would all be burning in fire. We would be a rock completely. People are suffering out here with all kinds of ailments. People are suffering from loneliness. People are suffering from depression. People are suffering with addictions. People are suffering with hate in their hearts. People are suffering with grudges. You name it, people are suffering from it. And it would behoove any one of us in the hip hop community to remember and celebrate him for all of the things that he did in this lifetime outside of suffering. He was a poet. He spoke to our people. He told it like it was. This man here was the epitome of everything hip hop. He gave his entire heart on and put it on a record. Our greats have done that over the years. Our Tupacs, our Biggies, put it all on the line for you. Show their vulnerabilities, tell you that they're suffering, tell you they still love you, even though you don't have the answer. People like this are what make hip hop hip hop. Did he always have some uplifting lyrics, that would make people feel like, oh, he's a positive rapper? No, he didn't, because that's not the entire story. We get mad. We have to do what we have to do to survive sometimes. Sometimes we all make mistakes. And he couldn't tell the story in its entirety without letting you guys know all of it. And that's what he did. He is the epitome of lyricism. Today we lost one of our greats, but he will be remembered from this day moving forward. He was not only, with all the accolades, platinum selling artist, songwriter, actor, all of the things that we praise him for, he was that. But he was also a brother, an uncle, a father, a man, and he was our voice. So let's take time out to acknowledge the greatness that is Mr. DMX, Earl Simmons, the man, and his legacy will not be forgotten. Thank you for joining the Sound of Orlando show. Now, this next artist I'm bringing on tonight is a part of that hip hop legacy. When we're talking about how can we push the culture forward, this brother has been doing it. He represents California, the Bay Area. I literally was looking at some of the things that he's been doing throughout his career. A resident, born and raised in, was it Redville City? I might be butchering it. He's got a nonprofit going on that represents right now the ideas of what it is to help each other. Redwood City, that's what I'm talking about. Redwood City, California. He's out there trying to not only do the music that he came here to do, but he's also worked with some of the greats. And this brother right here, man, I know I'm kind of butchering the beginning of it, but I want you guys to know that this next gentleman coming on is one of the people that are trying to push the culture forward in our thing that we love, which is hip hop, man. Give it up one time for Rahman Jamaal. Let's go. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you, Rome. It's great to be here. Like everyone else, I've been, it was tough news to wake up to. I know we were all praying for X, and I just, before we talk about anything else, I just want to say one thing that I really appreciate about DMX as an artist, as somebody who was navigating the music industry and really being in that position of being a role model. One thing I really appreciate about him is that he was not afraid to cry in front of in public. You know what I mean? And in an industry that just it puts so much on the hyper masculinity, and men aren't supposed to have emotions, and we're supposed to be numb to the world and everything. Like, and I'll say this: the men, particularly the black men that I've known, who are capable of crying in public, are some of the hardest thinkers. There's the hardest individuals, as far as like, it's because we love hard. That's why you cry when you're a man. It's because you love hard. And there's so much in the world that is, it's heartbreaking. We're seeing so much happen. And I feel like society conditions us to shove that underneath and not be present with that. So I just really appreciate anybody who can be out front and center with their emotions and walk that line. And that's something that X did.
Man, that is completely amazing. And I want to explore that too, because and what a great way to intro you to the city of Orlando. Welcome to Orlando, my brother. Yes, society tells you can't make mistakes. They shame you out of the idea of being, like you said, a man. Men have to make difficult decisions just like women do. We at times put ourselves out there. He was a man that came from nothing. He was trying to just, feed his family and be a voice for the people. And I think he did that in a beautiful way that years from now, it will still be recognized that, it takes a type of person to be able to stand up with all their mistakes and be everywhere and know that everyone pretty much watched him make mistakes or struggle with addictions and, but the love that he garnered for doing those things. And the ideals of what it takes to get up every day, knowing it's going to be another fight, knowing you gotta stand up and deal with your shit even when the world gives up on you. I think that says more of what the strength that men across this nation, across this world, have to have a fulfilling life. He left everything out there on the floor. He literally he did everything he was supposed to do. I mean, technically he could have been gone 10, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Or 10 years ago. And he still would be going down as a legend and a voice of the people. And God let him stay a little bit longer. Look at our prophets. Look at our, our people that have gone early. Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther Kings. And no, he wasn't one of those people, but he was a voice of the people. Mm-hmm. And that shit has to be recognized on many different levels. And I think to your point, man, that's why we have to talk as men about some of the things that we go through and know that we're not alone. You know what I mean? Like, know that we're not, it's okay to cry. It's okay to break down. It's okay to talk to your mans about what's going on. It's okay to reach out to people and because people are suffering right now. Yeah. And how can we not be there for each other in that way?
Right. Yeah. It's okay to have feelings. I was watching, even before he passed, I was watching the video for They Don't Know. And it's like, under today's circumstance, like, that shit gave me chills. When I heard it the first time, it's kind of like, because the thing about it is, like, you can get caught up in his delivery and his cadence. You're like, oh, that sounds cool. It's like, and you get into that feeling, right? But then I guess it's a thing of, like, when you get older and you start to learn more about life and all the struggles that people go through, and then you go back and it's like, you really putting their life out on the line for the world to learn from and for the world to know what they don't know. What I mean by the world, I mean like mainstream. I mean kids coming up that, like, we get so enamored in this hip hop industry that we forget that these are real people living real lives, and they are in the position to put a microscope on themselves and say, yo, this is me. And hopefully what I do in my life, you'll be able to learn from so that you can do something better. And that is what legends do. And that's also, that's something that I strive to do as an artist. And I hope, at the end of my life, people will be able to look back on the records that I left behind and be able to learn something from that, but it's dual. You can't just rap about the things that you think people want to hear, but really not do anything in your life. And I think that's also the struggle that artists face when they're in an industry, which is all about entertainment and not necessarily about the movement. It's not about the community and what you are as an entertainer or as a member of your community. It's like, which do you put out there first? What do you stand up for? And so many young people coming up in hip hop, and especially in the internet age, it's all about going viral. Like, what can I do to get the most views? And, and we have examples of that, like going completely off the path that we need to be on just for that hype. So, every time we lose an artist, I just, for me, it's like, how can I do their legacy justice, because I'm in that position to do the same thing with my own life. And that's to me, that's what hip hop should be about. That's what hip hop was at the beginning. I'm not so much caught up in the industry aspect of it. My entry into entertainment was a little bit different than most people because it came through movies, through a film, as an actor. But as an actor portraying a rapper who is also who I am, as a rhymer and as an MC, but I got to play a role where I was playing a young kid aspiring to be an MC, an artist, a hip hop artist, you know, but also being a hip hop artist and portraying that, it was kind of a very like, I guess, a meta type of experience, because we know film too. Another thing, you know, to credit DMX and artists that are in films and they're making records. That is kind of that's a dual kind of what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, you know, when you think of artists like Tupac, right, was making movies and making records, right? Portraying different characters, you know, in their full kind of like outside of the context of music, but just who they are, right? But they're also creating a musical path to tell their story.
I guess what you're trying to say is where art imitates life, and the reverse of that as well, where people have the ability to kind of look at themselves from what it would be like to be something else in their own field, and get to know that from more of a distant perspective versus actually being in it. Like you said, Tupac, DMX, the Nas's. There's a lot of actors / MCs that now, and I'm alluding to the kind of dedication you have to do one, let alone do two, and what kind of toll that could take on a person's mind. You know, you're consumed in what you love, but at the same time, you're not by yourself. I mean, you're exposed to the world and all of what they're trying to get out of you. And that's not easy, man. That's not easy for anyone. A lot of people take artists, especially what you were just talking about, the industry look of it. Like they look at artists like, you know, oh, well, you make money. What do you care? Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, you're successful. What do you, like, to your earlier point, like we're not human. Mm-hmm. Like people are not human. Like you don't have to go home after you've dealt with all of these people, directors, producers, you know, publicists, you know, the public, and you're constantly giving of yourself. There's people that have a hard time giving in a goddamn relationship. You talk about with a relationship with the world. And it's not easy, man. It's not easy on anybody, man. And to your point, sometimes you do start to play roles that maybe not are even you. And you switch sometimes because you don't know how. Sometimes when you walk in that forest and you're in there for a minute, you don't know how to fuck where you came in at. Mm-hmm. And that's real too. They always try to excuse the importance of artists, which are basically servers. They're waiters. They're here to serve the people. They give up portions of their lives, their children, relationships, their own sanity, you know, to serve the people. And it takes a toll on anyone. And it also makes that person is built like a fucking ox. You know, so many people have left early and couldn't deal with all of that pressure, i.e. a Kurt Cobain, you know, and a lot of different artists, the Jimi Hendrixes, you know, people that on the one end were complete and utter geniuses, but it put them in positions to where it was too much.
Yeah, it's like your spirit or your soul is being commodified. Right. When you become an entertainer, like that is the choice that every entertainer has to face, is like, this is coming from within me. This is coming from my soul, from my creativity, from, you know, and am I willing to commodify that? Am I willing to make a product out of that so that I can make a living, so like, you know, and it's different motivations for it, you know. But at the end of the day, if this is the path that was destined for you, society is asking you to create a product out of yourself. So now you have a market value and relevance that you have to keep up with so that you can live. And that is enormous pressure for anybody to live up to, because it's like, you know, now
people find that shit hard, like I said, to do even within their own relationships, having friends, having that pressure of keeping up your value. What the fuck are you friends with me for? What are you doing for me, buddy? You know, and all of the things that come along with maintaining value. And when you live your truth can be messy.
Yeah.
What makes truth beautiful is that it doesn't always follow the lines. It's not black and white. Truth is, I don't know what you hear all this shit all the time when people talk about facts, just the facts. The truth don't give a fuck about none of that shit.
The truth is ugly.
The truth don't give a fuck about none of that shit, because unlike facts, truth could save your life, it could kill you, but there's still a loving purpose there. It's not when someone's being real with you and telling you, hey man, I'm struggling with addiction, man, and music is my only outlet. You know, you can understand that, man. You could feel that shit.
Yeah.
You know, you could get that, man. Like, how could you shame? I mean, yeah, Jimi Hendrix wasn't here forever. He struggled. But in his time while he was here, that dude killed it. Dude killed it. He made an impact on the entire fucking world. Kurt Cobain made an impact on the entire world.
Yeah. You
know, and it's legends like that do the damn thing and deserve all the flowers while they're here, because you never know when it's time to go. And that's for all of us. And, you know, it allows other people who are works in progress to realize, man, hey, you're doing the right thing, man. However you get there, just get there.
Yeah. And I want to go back and correct myself. I said the truth is ugly. I actually don't believe that. I believe reality is ugly. The truth is beautiful, because what you do with your reality, you can create beauty from that by embracing that reality and finding who you are within that. You know what I'm saying? So this is something that I really try to stress to young people. I work with a lot of young people. The path that I chose after starring in this film, it's called The Beat. It came out it went to the Sundance Film Festival in 2003. And it was all like, we were all like first time filmmakers, very independent, but we made it to Sundance. We actually set the record. The director, Brandon Saunier, set the record for the youngest filmmaker to have a film accepted to Sundance. So we were like the new hot thing, you know what I'm saying?
Dope.
You know, but I realized, you know, for me, I was 20 years old. I'm in the middle of Hollywood. You know, I'm like living the dream, literally, just like, you know, starstruck, but I'm also a star and the new face. And like, there were so many different people that you see come into your life, and like, and you really have to peep game of like, wow, they're acting like they know me, but they're not taking the time to know me. They're just trying to, you know, get me to do what they can benefit off of. There's a lot of that energy in the entertainment industry. And it's like, it can feel very fake, you know, it can feel very like, you know, I remember even just being an actor, being the star, like these were friends from college, you know, and then, you know, we had people, you know, come in and professionals in the film and everything. I was so not used to being a star, like, you know, oh, do you need anything? Oh, let's do your makeup. And like people just treating you different because you're the star. And it's like, yeah, but y'all don't even know who I am. I didn't even earn this treatment. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel real to me, you know, because it's like, in reality, it's like, you got to earn that respect. And here you're getting all this respect. And it's like, where is this even coming from? Like, give me a chance to earn it or something. You know, it felt very, very strange, you know. And some people, I could see how certain people take that and run with it, or take that and begin to feel like, oh yeah, I deserve this, you know, and let it get to their head and kind of have that type of mentality. And you know, but that's just not me. I'm from the Bay Area. So like, you know, it's like we keep it a different kind of real, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's not about necessarily chasing that fame and all of that. It's about, you know, it's about being about what you believe in, you know, and the Bay Area is full of that and all different expressions of it and everything. And you know, it's a trip, you know. It's like, you know, I was even listening to your interview last night with Sugar T, and like, you know, she was speaking on some realness about like how people, I mean, just the fact that and you know, it's this interview is Bay Orlando love. Like, I got so much love for Orlando. You know, shout out Mad Ills, shout out Myverse, shout out King's Offspring. You know,
yes,
I used to go to Orlando almost every year to compete in the U.S. Open. So because I'm a martial artist, and so we would go to the tournaments and, you know, get out there, spar, do forms and everything. I got to shout out my dojo and brand is Adrenaline Martial Arts. If folks listening go to Adrenaline Worldwide, you're going to see a whole other thing when it comes to you know, a martial arts league, and it's going to be, you're going to hear about it in the upcoming years. It's amazing. It's
dope, man. Dope.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's so I met Mad Ills on the Vans Warped Tour, and
shout out to Mad Ills, man. He represents Orlando, brother.
That's right. And I was out in Orlando, and I'm like, oh, Mad Ills is out here, let me hit him up. And the dude he hosted me at his house, you know what I'm saying? Like, just introduced me to the scene in Orlando, and I just have so much respect for the underground scene there, because I mean, it's just it's full of so much talent, and people are really like grounded. I feel like it has a spiritual grounding out there, which I really appreciate. You know?
Hear that, Orlando, man? You hear my man's bigging Orlando up? Let's go. Continue, my brother.
But it's like I was saying, it was like the Bay Area, right? The Bay Area also has its own type of spiritual grounding that is unique, and you know, there's so much history that the mainstream hip hop audience don't know about, that is so germane to the entire narrative of what we call hip hop. And even myself am getting deeper and deeper into this from the OGs that came before me. You know, for example, I'm working with a gentleman by the name of Lonnie Green. Now, the streets know Lonnie Green.
Man,
Lonnie Green has Pop-Tart, right? The Filmo Kid. Like, here's another person who has been holding it down for the West Coast, Bay Area, as a strutter, as a dancer. And like, so I get to be, I'm working with him to help the world understand the narrative around what the foundation of what most people understand as popping, right? Which is an LA term. But before it was called popping, it was a style of movement from the Bay Area known as boogaloo, roboting, and strutting. And this is a history, a Black history, that never got the mainstream shine that really began with like Electric Boogaloo, lockers, and all of that. So like hip hop has embraced popping and locking because of the industry in LA. But there was a, you know, that the jump to get into the real origins from the Bay. It was almost like the Bay wasn't trying to like share its secrets with the industry like that, because it was more of a spiritual thing. You know, it's like you protect your expression, you protect this thing that you know has a power, you know, a power to attract people to you. You know, you know, you don't. It's not about
like for the wrong reasons, right? Like
right.
You have a responsibility to not only cultivate but to protect this thing of ours, because one thing that it allowed people across this country and across the world really was give poor people a voice and a platform and a way to express themselves that didn't require money.
Exactly.
Most of our legends and our heroes started with their bodies, started with, you know, their I mean, it literally came from us. The ideas, the thinking, the speaking, the graph writing, the dancing, like everything came. It was an internal energy that was just spread all over the country, and people fell right into place with that. And I think, to your point, I think that's exactly what we all should continue to do. And through our protection of what it is, we share it by doing it, because that makes people see the value in it. Why do you care so much? Right? And then you can have that conversation of why the hell you care so much about this thing of ours. And that gets people perspective. So they know when they touch it, they ain't going to break it. You know, they ain't going to be, you know, disrespectful. They're going to acknowledge everyone that taught them and how they should do right in their own way by it. You know, so that's dope, man. That's really dope. Let's get into that. Give the listeners right now that are tuning in, you sent in a video. Describe the first video that we're going to play.
Oh, man. All right. So this is an old video. I'm actually promoting a new album, but we were trying to get the tracks on the MP4. It wasn't working out like you were saying. This is the last minute little book. So so we found some old videos that I'm going to share. This first one is called Carmageddon.
Carmageddon.
It was a collaboration with a DJ by the name of Defective, Danny DJ Defect. He's a DMC USA finalist, incredible
Shout out to Defect, man. Yes.
And he produced this track. This was actually a track that I recorded while I was still in college. It was really he sent this track on we're kind of funny. Like, he sent it on he's like, I'm gonna send you a track, and he sent it on my answering machine. He left it on my answering machine. He's like, bruh, I bet you can't write a rap to this. And like, you know, he was, you know, basically the challenge out there, like, try to write a rap to this. And it's this high energy track. And I just kind of went into the zone that I was in and what the track made me feel. And these lyrics, you know, came out, we recorded it. It's still very, I think, you know, relevant to the feeling of sort of that inner rage that can come out when we see the injustice that still exists in our world, and
right.
How do we deal with that? And there's so much to consider, and trying to put that, for me, this is me putting that rage into language. And that's what the track brought out in me. And so we shot a video for this I believe we were in Salinas, and it was shot by my man Isik. I got to shout out Isik, who's also an incredible artist. He's also a fitness guru. My man's out in Austin, Texas right now. So shout out Isik, the steel mace specialist. You know, he got me, you know, working, keeping fit into our age. You know what I'm saying? It's very important. Right. So yeah, this was just homies coming together, believing in each other, saying, yo, let's make this video. And this is
name of the song?
Carmageddon. And the collab of the group that we formed is called Phono Sapiens. So this is Carmageddon by Phono Sapiens.
Dope. Let's go. Let's go.
Y'all know the sound. Look what nigga just rolled town. Slow crown, the gold crown. You just don't know no more what the fuck is going down. World is getting colder now. This shit hope we roll around like a ball on the ground. Blind like I'm like the time right in the viewport. If useful life is fuel, then we must be stuck inside it. Rise up and fight and fuck the fight, get inside of you. My move forward is to go and no one to overgo. Because I can take all my approval like it's beautiful, equal. I have no problem turning up these bridges from these bitches. If you think I'm gonna curl up and give it, you must be kidding. I'm just beginning to crush the limits of what we live in. God is my mountain witness. No I don't trust religion in the least. So don't let the beast fight a war with me. Cause when I see enemies with the heat, I ain't trying to sneak in the beast. My soul's gonna go and go in the beast. Even he's slowly gonna breathe. Please, release these demons within me when I freeze. You cannot tell me all is well. It's nothing else but self-deception. All that I felt becomes dispelled. deception. You cannot help me nothing. Well, because we dwell in hell's reflection. It's times like this that I wanna say fuck the world with my fist up. It's times like this that I wanna say fuck the world with my fist up. It's times like this that I wanna say fuck the world with my fist up. It's times like these that I wanna say fuck the world with my fist up. It's times like these that I wanna say fuck the world with my fist up. It's times like these that I wanna say fuck the world with my fist up and flip up the burn at anyone who don't like what's been heard. Shove the words down the open throat of those folks I hope will choke. Sold the road while I go for broke. You told the yoke I hold the rope. Triple threat says hit the deck. Ain't no telling how ugly this will get. Middleman end up crippled veterans and those who declare war and never said. Cause I'm better than that, but I'm ready to fight, so you better send back up reinforcements. Cause I'm gonna see a forfeit like Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, and Navy. Endorsements to Pierce Brosnan sent to destroy enemy informants. Former Legion seen in court along with Hussein habeas corpus. Torches flaming up scorching fortresses. He eating up more victims. Screaming from doors and then slaughtered into treaty. We the fortresses. Horror ends to let more begin. Forming more hordes and more trends and all depend on the source and origin of power order before war begins. So what's it worth? Do you turn virtual? Trust your nerves. Do you burn turbo? Jump the curve. Do you avert your blood to surge? Troy will merge with the herd. What's the worst that can happen next? You die a tragic death. The magic grass. If that's your best, better catch your breath. You cannot tell me all is well. It's nothing else but self-deception. All that I felt becomes dispelled because everyone else is threatened. Don't try to tell me all is well. It's nothing else but self-deception. You cannot help me nothing well because we dwell in hell's reflection.
That's definitely hard, brother. That's definitely hard. As far as like you hear that rocket fluids, kind of gives me that body count vibe. Very like slappy, with the drums and the guitars and the riffs. When you're coming out of California, and this is what I love about artists that represent their sound, their cities, and where they come from, you're always going to hear something different and based on how they grew up and stuff like that. Talk about, some of the things that you notice in the Bay Area that is only, like, you can only get that cooking over there. Talk about from what that is to you.
Wow. Well, I guess, I would say, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with, with the inner city Black dance culture. I feel very fortunate to have an insight into that world that not a lot of people have. It's definitely something that, the Bay Area's Black family community is extremely deep and extremely conscious and extremely underrated.
Right.
And as I get deeper into understanding the people from Hunters Point, the people from the Fillmore district in San Francisco,
right.
And the influence that those families had on movements that we know about, such as like the Black Panthers, right?
Right.
The history is so deep, and it's almost like too deep for school discussion. But that's changing. But like back in the day, it's like they wouldn't allow. I don't think either there weren't curriculums written that public schools could support when it comes to the level of knowledge and consciousness that it was coming out of the Bay from the Black community that ended up changing the entire country. Matter of fact, that our inroad is the Black Panthers, but when you get even deeper into who they were, why they started, the history is I give you an example. The Huey Newton was inspired to start the Black Panthers in 1966, 2 weeks after there was an uprising in Hunters Point because a cop had shot a teenager who was running away from the cop. He shot him, killed him, and the whole hill just the families just took over. National Guard had to be called in. You can Wikipedia this stuff. And that was the event, to see the community come together like that. After that happened, Huey was like, whoa, we got to do something about this. We have to organize this energy. And he started the Black Panthers 2 weeks later. So that's like a lot of times Oakland, gets the credit for being the birthplace of the Black Panthers, but a lot of people don't know that Oakland wasn't in a bubble by itself. You had Frisco, right. you had Richmond, you had a whole network of Black people that were influencing and inspiring each other to change the world.
Dope, and man, so, that's so dope. Yeah. Do you see similarities in that history with what Black Lives Matter is doing?
You ask a very loaded question. I'm going to keep it real with you because this is just how I've experienced the whole unfolding of Black Lives Matter, which I know everybody's familiar with. There is a deeper history to that, and I don't want to air anybody out, but there's a lot of people that don't fuck with Black Lives Matter because of how Black people, I'm talking Black people, because right. of the organizational history and how certain people responded in the early days, even before it was a hashtag.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. In Los Angeles, there was a man named Ezell Ford who was murdered by police within a week of Mike Brown's murder. And there were organizers on the ground floor with that were trying to get the DA at the time was Jackie Lacey to hold these officers accountable.
Right.
For whatever reason, Jackie Lacey was, she was not following through on that. And I got to shout out my homegirl, my sister, Kiana Selena, because she was one of the organizers on the ground floor that was with the families, with the moms, saying, we're going to take this to Jackie Lacey. We're going to, we got to get her to convict, we got to get her to, all of this stuff. She was organizing with the families. Well, there was an event where some of the founders and she was actually organizing with the founders of Black Lives Matter. Then there was an event where these organizers were basically there to celebrate Jackie Lacey being the, a Black DA woman, kind of give her an award for, I guess, making it that far. But there was a conflict at that event because other organizers was like, yo, Jackie, when are you going to hold these officers accountable? And started making some noise, right? Now, instead of facilitating a conversation, the Kiana, my sister, was escorted out of the building, was basically given a gag order, and and then there was some just some personal words exchange that did not represent solidarity with the Ezell Ford family.
Right.
And then what later happened was a lot of those organizers then, instead of fighting their own fight at the home turf, went out to St. Louis, started being like, oh, how do we help St. Louis? St. Louis had their own organizers, so it was almost like this weird kind of okay, you going, what is this? A publicity stunt? What are you in solidarity with the organizers that were already in St. Louis around Mike Brown? Or are you, are you there for other reasons? And you could ask organizers on the ground floor of St. Louis what they think of Black Lives Matter. You might get a different story than what is being kind of put out there. I mean, in my community,
well, it was crazy when that happened. I was I was living in Missouri. I lived in Kansas City for 12 years. And during that time, it was they didn't have a foothold on the entire movement as they tend to do now. But to be fair to injustice, I believe, you know, most of the times we are not approaching these injustices in a way that reflects the actual numbers of us. And there's so many people at any point in time that can, you know, pinch or take one or two, make them, you know, pull their credibility, make them look like, you know, or plants or, you know, whatever. We watched it in real time. To your point about the Black Panthers and the Judases that were involved in that, and you know, when there's not enough numbers, it's very easy to infiltrate. And you would think it would be the opposite, but we always consolidate our leaders. The business community in America doesn't do that. There's people on, you know, board of directors, there's commissions, you know, there's a social construct that allows these businesses to operate, which are like the Chamber of Commerce, you know, City Hall. And we have those numbers that we can develop different ways that can work with each other all over the country. And it doesn't have to be centralized and thought outside of just, hey, this is about our representation, because we only come together like that, which we had to this time, to vote. And that needs to be scaled. We need to come together like that to create, you know, the new Black Wall Streets and the new way of governance that reflects the majorities of people that are here wherever we live, because a lot of times we're being governed from a minority. They call us the minority for us to believe that shit, but we're not the minority. We represent a huge majority. Black and brown people are the majority, period. But yet we don't see the, you know, laws or things on the books that reflect the communities that they govern. And therefore we get these isolated people. And to be fair, man, once again, when we was talking about DMX, we was talking about the idea of what people have to go through. Anybody being put in the public spotlight to corral and organize people is not only a threat to their own establishments, but a threat to the government. And there's so many people that would be really interested in diluting it at best. And at worst, you know, creating these people that come in, build them up, give them everything they need to at least put a stop to it through confusion, through unorganization, through this is better than ours or yours, and we're only going to focus on this. And, you know, by the time we gather all up our resources and figure out what the fuck happened, it's already happened.
Yeah,
it's already happened. The damage is already done.
Yeah, and every movement, and you know, and let me say this, because I'm not. The problem is not in. There's always going to be differences when people are trying to organize amongst themselves. Right. The focus, though, shouldn't be on the internal, you know, the internal conflict, because at the end of the day, we are all fighting a larger force that is constantly trying to co-opt anything that it feels is garnering the power to change the system. Right. So when I want to be clear that, like, because you asked the question immediately, I should have asked you, did you mean the movement or did you mean the organization? Because those are two different things in people's minds.
No, and I said it that way because both are not mutually exclusive. The ideas that organizations cannot be infiltrated and destroyed from within, and create conflicts, and where, like you said, there's a bigger picture. Sometimes all it does take is, well, we're not putting that as a priority, and you lose a population. We see it every election. When certain things are put as priorities, those people come out and vote. When something is not being put as a priority, those people don't get those votes. And so, and those are well-run machines. So we're still developing our machine. I mean, 400 years later, we're still developing the machine. Right. But it's very easy to come in and kind of, misdirect, put people in there that will say, "Nah, man, I don't like that, man, and we shouldn't even be a part of that," and just kind of make this kind of dying on a hill, if you will, over small things, having us fighting over, well, I don't want to call it Burger King. Well, I don't want to call it McDonald's, when we should be in the business of food. Just the food is the important thing, not what it's named. And so for a lot of people, I know, I was in Missouri, people felt all kinds of different ways about Black Lives Matter. But we all were united in being Black.
Right.
We knew what it was to be a person of color in this country, and know that when faced with police, your choices are slim. You might not go home. How that gets organized, what that name ends with, to me, is like really besides the point. We do need better communication across the country, because it's all of our problem.
Right.
And I think while people are spokespeople for people, they have probably one of the most difficult jobs, because they have to somehow get in probably the most hardest of heads sometimes, the idea that we need to talk to each other, and that we don't necessarily always need someone to speak for someone. Maybe it's put us on a fucking Zoom call. Let's get fucking LA. Let's get Atlanta. Let's get Miami on a Zoom call. Whatever we need to do. Let's, like the Warriors, where all the gangs met in the Bronx, at the beginning of the movie, and begin a dialogue that at the end of the day, people are visual, and some people don't always, they're not always sold on the first person that says we're going to do this. They need to be convinced, and those convincings can be simply done with a fucking conversation. Yeah,
but organizing is the key, and I personally, what I've learned through being involved in organizing since I was in
and I want you to talk about your nonprofit that you got going on too.
And it's not my nonprofit in the sense of I started it. Like I said, I joined in college. It had already been around. It was founded in 1993. It started off as an artist collective of artists just wanting to, share resources with each other, and in that sort of co-opoly. That's shout out to Carlos. That's his term, but that's in the spirit of sharing resources and sharing skills and whatever you have as artists was the original vision. And it was called, it was started by Rial Robinson. He called it Hip Hop Congress. It sounded like, that's what we need. We need a hip hop.
Hell yeah. We need a Congress, a system in place that, through peers, through youth, one of the biggest obstacles that it faces sometimes is the pitting of old against young. Because for a lot of young people, they're easily susceptible to the offerings of independence. Right now, we're in independence eras right now. When we were coming up, it was the complete opposite. It was, we need to be represented by someone. We need to have Columbia Records representing us, and and it was easier to kind of pit people against each other that way. But now it's even worse. With independence comes responsibility. And we hear all the time this independence. Well, I don't need them. I don't need them. And you have all these people talking about the same things in that regard and don't even realize that they're doing it, saying that we don't need each other. I don't need you to make my money. It's my money. And when you have that dynamic in place, that's why, to your point about a Congress, that shit would be dope. I've been talking about how the fuck do we not have a union?
Right. Yeah.
Where there's benefits involved, where the idea of, you know, all artists are protected. Obviously, you can't protect every single person because there will be rogues, but the idea of, you know, you're not signing contracts that could affect us all negatively. So, you know, there being some sort of rules to the game. No 360 deals. Fuck you. We're not doing that. You know, putting the onus on the companies that have been benefiting for so many years at the artist's expense, and normally leaving these artists poor, broke, and dead.
Yeah.
You know, you see all these artists right now selling their entire catalogs to these major corporations.
Yeah. And
this is what it's come to. Without any representation, without anyone saying, okay, we need each other. It's every man for themselves now. How do you put that back in the tube with the Hip Hop Congress?
Well, you know, it came out of those types of conversations, you know, the underground community, like I'm saying, from the Bay Area. So, you know, around 1997, an individual by the name of Shamako Noble met Real, saw this idea. He was out of San Jose, an MC, but also a community organizer. So he brought this element of activism into this artist network of like, oh, we got to form chapters. We gotta form collectives of localized groups that work together in their region, in their local region. And so
what's up with Orlando, my brother? Shit, we need a chapter down here, brother.
I've been talking to Mad Ills and Myverse about this for a while. So
let's go.
But yeah, no, what's really dope about how it developed was that, okay, so like in 1997, this is when the first two chapters, one in Northern California and one in Southern California, were formed. And then this crazy thing happened where so that was going on. And then the internet started like popping, right? Like people starting, you know, going on internet searches, and they found this other group calling itself Hip Hop Congress. And they were like, hold up. We got this name. We had this name first. Like, they're this, what are they? They're a student group at USC. So it was like a student organization, right, at USC. And so they get in touch with the founders of this student organization, which were these two guys named Ron Gubitz and Jordan Bromley. And they created this student organization because, you know, they're both Jewish. They wanted to bring artists to campus, hip hop artists, and bring all the elements of hip hop to campus to perform at these festivals, where they could also invite community organizations from the area to table and put their information out there, and like basically have these community awareness festivals utilizing hip hop artists as the draw, and just creating this relationship between the communities, between the students in the campus and the communities that they were in. And so when they found that out, it was like, whoa, that's a genius idea. And we happen to be a network of artists. So they joined forces in 2000. And that's when Hip Hop Congress became a nonprofit, 501c3 charitable education organization. One of the student organizers changed his major, went into law so that he could went into entertainment law so that he could, know the ins and outs of that, because it was an idea that really just it met its need in time. And when that thing happened, there was created a manual that basically was like, here's what you can do, as a student organization or a chapter, basically, like whether it's at a school as an organization, or you could have a chapter in a community, because we had both models. But like, and it just kind of broke down, you know, here's how you organize a local collective. You know, if you're interested in starting a chapter wherever you at, just hit us up. We'll send you the manual, boop to boop, and then you can organize a chapter on your own. You don't have to follow any sort of, no membership fees or nothing. It's just like you want a tool to be able to organize your community, but then also be able to connect with other local organizers in their communities. Like, start a chapter. It's easy. It made organizing easy in that regard, and it didn't also mean that you had to organize yourself in a silo, which is what, a lot of people do. It's like they do what they can to organize their community, but it's like your focus is so much on that you don't have time to think about who's organizing across the country, right? But the Hip Hop Congress model allowed that to happen. And what was dope was that we started organizing national conferences, and a different chapter would host it each year. I skipped a step though, because the internet was emerging. The chapters around 2000. So I joined in 2001. I was a freshman at USC on full scholarship, studying film. I was looking for a hip hop family because I grew up being the only rapper in my school, kind of a different path than most, but like I didn't have a hip hop family. I was just like only child writing rhymes in my room, So when I found the student organization, immediately it was like, oh yeah, I'm finally around people who think like me. And right. And then they graduated, the Ron and Jordan, they graduated and were like, yo, you're dope, you're a rapper, you're into this, you're running the chapter now. And so I had to then be like, oh, okay, so now I'm organizing with other hip hop heads at USC until I graduated. That was also the same time that I was, in this film. So there was a lot going on. And also at the same time, the Hip Hop Congress model started basically spreading virally. And there were chapters that would just start popping up just on their own. And it was so sweeping. I mean, at one point in under 10 years, there were over 70 Hip Hop Congress chapters, not just in the United States, but around the world. Chapters started popping up in France, in South Africa, in Kenya. Like, it was just this idea that folks was like, I'm down for this. And at the same time, we're all like it was so grassroots was the other thing. Like it wasn't coming like from some hierarchical structure of like, oh, we're telling everybody what they need to do and all that. It was so grassroots. So between 2002 and 2010 is when we started doing these national conferences. We're like, we gotta bring these chapters together. We gotta like all get in one same location and just share ideas and see what everybody's talking about. And the first one was in San Jose, hosted by that first chapter. Then it was in LA. And then by year 3, we went to St. Louis. And the St. Louis one was amazing because this was at a time where the theme of the conference was hip hop and education. And thinking about, as artists, like what can we offer not just as entertainers, but as educators, as trainers, as coaches for the next generation coming up. Right. And our keynote speaker that year was Martha Diaz. And she is, she's one of the foremost people that was able to get hip hop recognized as a valid subject in colleges at the university level, and like creating majors and like, really organizing at that higher education level. She was our keynote speaker. And she's also a grassroots organizer too. Like she was like, I want to see this happen. And so she had organized a film festival, all this stuff. Well, she spoke at that conference and sparked like all of our minds. She was just like, whoa, this is crazy. Like we've never considered thinking about education as a path for hip hop artists, because to your point, like we're all, anybody that wants to do arts when they're young and a student immediately gets told, well, you got to go into entertainment. You know, if you want to make it, if you want to make money off of that, you have to play by the entertainment industry's rules. And I saw that firsthand. I'm like, wow, the entertainment industry's rules are really limiting because they're trying to market a product and they're trying to market an infinite source of creativity in this little box that it can package and sell to people. Well, that's not the business that I want to, that I want to put myself in. So the conversation around hip hop and education really inspired me to really consider that and be like, okay, I've already starred in this movie. I mean, I don't even know how I'm going to top that, as my next project is like, how do you top that? Starring in your own movie as a hip hop artist. Let me see what, where is the deeper need? Like, do I need to just become an entertainer and try to, make it like that? It's like, no, I don't. Entertainment has enough artists, but you know who doesn't have enough artists using their skill and their, is schools and education and young people, like directly going and being like, yo, you want to learn how to rap? Check this out. Let's break this down. You want to learn how to freestyle? All right, let's do it. We got this, and at the beginning it was very much like, can you teach this stuff? Or us being like, okay, if we were young people knowing what we know now as artists, what would we pass on to the next generation so that they can, get to where we're at? And basically just sharing our knowledge. And I have to shout out an organization that enabled myself and other individuals within Hip Hop Congress to actually get paid to do this. And that's the Riket Center. This was an organization that I was a part of in high school that was basically the vision of this man named Gary Rikus, who had almost like, he had these big dreams of being a professional athlete and musician and everything, but he injured himself in college trying to play football, was paralyzed, but then he like opened up this center and taught himself like, how to train properly, but then started training kids how to train properly. And then started this whole peer mentoring thing. It was this amazing vision. And he passed away just a couple weeks ago. So it's still fresh, fresh on the heart. But he enabled me to not only he enabled me by giving me access to my first recording studio that I recorded all my music at, including the soundtrack to the film that I was a part of, all of this stuff, and so many other people too. Like, I'm just one story of so many that whose lives were changed by somebody who was like, why don't we reverse the education model? Instead of being like, here's what you got to learn, be like, what do you want to learn? And we'll help you succeed at that type of thing. So,
man, that is dope, man, because that's where education should be anyway. As soon as they started taking out history and telling just one story, I thought we were in trouble. But for a lot of this, it's still all based around the narrative of teaching people how to work for other people. And that's what the education system is based on. How can we get these people to come work at my job?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not, teaching our kids that there's options. Like, you don't have to work for someone. You could be an entrepreneur. You could think freely. And to your point, something that is like in our day-to-day lives, nonstop. Hip hop runs the world. It's everything. It's, it's in our foods. It's in, it's marketed with it's every walk of our life right now. And how the fuck is it not in school? And the history of it is beyond me. I think anyone can value something if they know it began before them. We start off, for most of, the youths, we come up and we're thinking if the world just revolves around us. And we're dealing with adults and people out in this world that have that same mentality. Like, the world just revolves around you. It began with you and it ends with you. And that's not a great business model. It's not a great education model. It's just not a great model in general. It breeds selfishness. It breeds insecurities, self-hate, because for a lot of people, if they don't know where they came from, they don't know where they're going. And it builds resentment. We have a lot of people out here that only value money, and the lack of it which most people don't have money. And that's just the fucking truth. You know, most people weren't born with money and don't have money. So all the things that are valuable, like education, being spiritual, learning about the fucking universe. That shit should be in every fucking class all through fucking your education, from fucking kindergarten all the way up.
Yeah.
Where do we sit in the solar system? You know, giving people perspective to not only value where the fuck they are from, where they live, why everyone is important in the grand scheme of things. And it just makes, to your point, I'm glad you guys are doing that, because we need that. We need more of it, and it needs to be scaled, and continue to do that, man, because I think that's really fucking dope. That's awesome. That and here's the site again, hiphopcongress.com. All my people in Orlando, go check out that site, man. We need a way to communicate with one another, and that's a definite way of doing that. Where can people pick up your music at, this new project that you got going, and discuss that?
So yeah, just real fast forward quick on just close that last topic. It was never closed, but
okay.
As far as Hip Hop Congress goes, we are it's been a long process, but we are developing a social platform for artists, educators, and activists, because that's really, like, in a nutshell, that's what it's a merger of, and these things all intersect, and where they intersect is really where the organizing power is. And so the website that's up right now is, in a sense, a placeholder website. It's much more kind of like, if you are interested, I mean, you'll see things like, I mean, like folks like Proof from Detroit were at our events, and rest in peace, the Jacka was also a Hip Hop Congress artist. So we were like very connected in these local communities. But definitely just email the contact on the site, hiphopcongressinc@gmail.com. That goes directly to me, and then I can forward that to our regional directors, which you know, and we just keep it very, you know, very direct in that way. You know, it's about building you know, family networks with people that are dedicated to making change and that is necessary. But going back to the education conversation, speaking of, I got a 3-year-old in the background, which you hear. We are working in California. We're working on the first state-sponsored hip hop education initiative.
Dope.
Designed to allow artists to get a teaching credential to teach in schools. Teach in schools without having to go to a 4-year college to get an education degree. You can get a CTE credential to teach a designated subject, and we're developing one for hip hop. And that, that's
dope,
sort of,
man, dope. And that gives people the idea of, you know, besides the obvious, everyone is relevant, but the idea that you can be an artist and still give back to your community, still teach the youths. A lot of the older artists do feel like the youths aren't listening. Well, shit, that's one way of doing it, man.
Yeah,
take your ass to school and teach these kids the foundation. The building blocks, man. I think that's fucking dope, man.
And be compensated for that time and that work. To your point about forming a union, I mean, that's one of the conversations that we talk about a lot, is like, we need to be valued in whatever industry that we're in. Like, nobody else can do what we do, you know, as artists that are on this path, that are engaged in these ways. Like, in the conversation,
well, it's exclusive to the recording industry. The actors have they have a union in place that protects some of their interests. But for some reason, the recording industry, has kept this business model in place that only seems to allow even companies that fail to retain wealth through publishings and through copyrights and through artists giving, they might not even be in existence no more, but they still maintain a wealth that the very artists that were on the label do not get to share with. And we need our own lawyers. We need our own publicists. We need people that have a stake in the interest of the culture of it and not just the profits of it. Because until we decide that we're valuable, no one's going to feel that we're valuable. I do want to go into where can we find all things Rahman Jamaal and this new project you're working on as far as music.
Yeah, definitely. So the new project is called The Book of Ra. This is my first solo album that's also all self-produced. And the artwork on my background is actually custom artwork made for the cover by my man Magic out of San Jose. Dope artist. His art all pops in 3D when you put glasses on. So
dope, man, dope.
The goal is actually to release the physical copies as a art book that comes with music and the lyrics. So
shit.
You know what I'm saying? We're trying to, do something a little different and
man, please.
That feel of value,
Right.
But all the music is released on online right now. So it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music. If you want to see my whole discography and just kind of listen to the different projects that I've released, a lot of them are collaborative. I got the soundtrack to The Beat on there. I got a spin-off project from that, which is like a real avant-garde jazz rap fusion album. And I got this international project, which we may show a video of in a sec, called Street Poetry Music, which was a collaboration with a young artist that I met out of Brazil, who had basically just been one of these cats who just freestyled on the streets, but never been in a studio, never, done it like on a serious level. And through the Riket Center, we recorded an album. It was produced by my man Bosch. That was an incredible multilingual international type of hip hop project, which is super dope. And then I have the album out there, which it also can be downloaded as 2 EPs. That's actually, the album is 2 EPs fused into one, and you get a different listening experience depending on which EP you listen to first. So yeah, and that's all on my Bandcamp. So if you go to my name, www.rahmanjamal.bandcamp.com, then you'll be able to get access to all that music. And obviously, like, if you feel like supporting, if this is something that you want to support, the Bandcamp is like, the prices are a little high. You can always, just get it at the market value or whatever. But I feel like the work that's put into it makes the music higher than the market value. But that's for the folks that are really down to support. So
everything you described tonight, man, there's no reason why they should support it. Artists have been landlocked for a significant amount of time, given last year, and they're still kind of dealing with it in their own ways. Right now, the best thing for anyone to do right now is to support your artist. They have been hit hard by circumstances that are not their doing. They've been dealing with it, and in a minute, everyone's going to be getting out and performing and putting their music out. Man, go and support your artists. They need that, man. And Cali is always going to be Killer Cali. Y'all keep doing y'all thing out there, man. We love what Cali is doing, man. They're pushing the envelope. They're trying to make things work. Look, you guys were the first ones to make marijuana an issue, and now the whole entire country is coming along. But it starts with small beginnings. And to your point, that is a business model in our education that would work and can be scaled all across the country, because especially given our cities, there's a certain thing about knowing where the fuck you live. in the history of where the fuck you live. Like, shit, I mean, New York is always going to get a lot of that information just off top. But there's places like you talking about, the Bay Area. Too Short should be a part of the education there. He's done a lot for that community. There's artists like Dale the Funky Homo Sapien that their community needs to know about. A lot of people are going to put it on the line. You know, when we're talking about what the Bay Area has meant for the entire world, shout out to Sugar T, E40, Sick with a Wreck, all these people, Hammer, all these people that have put their lives on the line. There shouldn't be a fucking reason in this world why that shouldn't be a part of not only y'all's curriculum, but the likes over here, you know, the likes in Houston, and what the voice of the people meant in our development and how we were able to kind of think for ourselves during a time that we needed to all be getting free, if you will. What's the name of this next joint that we're going to play? And I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I know it's short notice, you know, and I know you're a trooper, man. We want to support what you're doing, man. And just like I said, I want to thank you for just letting us know what the idea of organization looks like, what Black excellence looks like. And y'all keep doing it in Cali, man. We're proud of you. And when you come out here, brother, you know you're welcome.
I'm here.
Good. So what's this next song we're gonna get into, my brother?
So again, this one, this is an older project around 2012. This is from the Street Poetry album, and it's a collaboration with myself, an artist named Risk, the producer Bosch, and we actually got a really dope artist out of LA named Steven Henderson on the hook. It's a real catchy song. It's more for, you know, the having fun crowd and just having a good time. So we're gonna leave it on an uplifting note.
Damn right. You need that right now, man. And thank you. Big up Bay Area. Big up my man Rahman Jamaal, man, aka Ramen. I got to throw the ramen in there, bro. We love that, man. But thank you, man. Thank you for joining the show tonight, man. And let's check this video out, peoples. Let's go.
Hello?
Yo, homie, we got another show booked tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Yeah, bro, you coming through?
We'll call you in the morning after. Alright.
Yo.
Yeah, that's pretty good, bro.
Oh, on the beat.
On the beat.
Take me on a ride with your hand and ride the supernova musical train. Take me on a ride with your hand and ride the supernova musical train. Oh.
Future organic, party so digital, oral, physical, audio, visual. Hotties no show, so naughty flow criminal. Everybody hands up, not even subliminal. Take you on a ride, y'all coming inside from the base into space while the whole place vibrates. Migrate to the stage, make your thighs shake while these hands slide to your waist. Say,
take me on a ride with your hand. Ride the supernova musical train. Take me on a ride with your hand. Ride the supernova musical train.
Original bilingual lyrical symbol with Bosch on the beat, making all the ladies single. Volcanic, fire spilling psychodynamic, cynic music panoramic, incinerating botanics. Cali to Brazil, Bacardi Caipirinha, make you show all your appeal. Damn, I might fly you to real, for real. Said she keep my music on repeat, so I ask her where to put it.
On the beat.
Take me on a ride with your hand. Ride the supernova musical train. Take me on a ride with your hand. Ride the supernova musical train.
Splendid.
playing all over the planet. Amended continental flows and language. Damn it, icy spice and Henny blended. Pop the top of the ceiling and you can blame it.
We'll give you that supernova cane for you to go insane with the beat on repeat, thinking that it's gonna change. Hit you with the same result every time. Open vein DJs drop the needle, let the flow soak your brains.
Take me on a ride with your haze. Around the supernova musical train. Take me on a ride with your haze. Around the supernova musical train.
Yes, sir, man. You already know, man. You already know. It's so awesome to get to travel all over the city without, and all over the nation without even getting on a plane or getting in a car. Killer Cali's always going to have that dope-ass energy vibe to them. Shout out to my man, Rahman Jamaal, for representing the Bay Area, coming on tonight, short notice, man. We appreciate y'all. Once again, we like to salute the man, the myth, the legend. He's going to be missed, Earl DMX Simmons. We're gonna miss you, guy, but we're gonna represent your legacy hard, man. Thank you for everything you've done in the hip hop world and in life in general, man. Big up DMX. And like to thank y'all, man, for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week, Monday. Salute everybody, man. Love y'all. This is what we do out here, man. Represent our city, our story, our sound. Let's go.
Live on stage, the sound.
Orlando!
So, is they ready? Yes. The sound.